I believe in the power of quotes to help us heal and grow. In essence, they are pearls of wisdom that we can pull off the shelf as needed to help guide us through life. I have my favorite quotes posted on the walls of my office and throughout my website. I share them with my clients on a daily basis. And now I want to share 12 of them with you. The order in which I list them tells a story of life, loss, healing, and recovery. Quote number 1. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. The great psychiatrist Carl Jung recognized that we all carry wounds, usually from childhood, and in order to protect ourselves from the pain, we learn to tell ourselves stories that distorted reality. For example, my dad loved me and beat me because I was bad, which helped me feel safer than seeing the truth of the matter that my dad was in fact a danger to me. But in order to become my true self, I must be able to identify and let go of these illusions, so I can live life instead of being defended against it, which will involve a process of facing my pain so I can heal and grow. Quote number 2. You did what you knew how to do, and when you knew better, you did better. The wise poet and author Maya Angelou, who was sexually abused as a child, encouraged her readers to develop patience and compassion for themselves as they journeyed down the path of recovery. She pointed out that we're always doing the best we know how to do, and when we know better, we do better. But knowing better means not only understanding what is better, but also knowing how to actually put it into practice. For example, I may know that my drinking is destructive, but it might take much longer to achieve sobriety. Quote number 3. If we are facing in the right direction, all we have to do is keep walking. This is a Zen proverb that I share with clients to help them understand that recovery is not a destination, but rather a lifelong journey. So it's not about getting to a certain place, but rather about finding the right path. So once you've found the right path, the goal is to stay on it because it will take you to where you want to go. Quote number 4. Our very life depends on everything's recurring till we answer from within. The profound poet Robert Frost made the observation that we tend to make certain mistakes over and over until we decide to look inside ourselves to see what's going on. Mistakes are a part of life that have much to teach us. However, when an intelligent person repeatedly makes the same mistake, then something more complicated is going on. Why is he not learning from his mistakes? Well, usually it's because there's an emotional need preventing his normally intelligent brain from learning from the mistakes. So in therapy, I teach such clients to look inside themselves, to identify the emotional needs that are hijacking their intelligent brains, which is usually at the root of the problems for which they're seeking help. And then we work to find a more effective way to meet those needs. For example, I abuse alcohol to deal with the stress of my job, which then causes problems in my marriage. So I might learn to meditate as a more effective way to reduce stress. Quote number 5. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy. This profound observation from an ancient Hindu text states what social scientists have only recently discovered, that anxiety and depression are often caused by our own thinking. Modern cognitive behavioral and mindfulness-based therapists such as myself teach clients how to tame their minds by changing the stories they tell themselves, which research has shown is quite effective in reducing anxiety and depression. Quote number 6. You don't have to control your thoughts. You just have to stop letting them control you. Dan Millman, also known as the Peaceful Warrior, is a former world champion athlete, university coach, martial arts instructor, and college professor. This quote of his explains the mindfulness approach to taming the mind. You don't need to control your thoughts. In fact, that's not possible. You just need to learn how to detach from them so they don't control you, which is what I teach my clients who suffer from chronic anxiety and depression. Quote number 7. What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself. This deceptively profound statement from a Stoic philosopher in 100 BC Greece addresses an issue that today we call low self-esteem or shame. Most of my clients grew up in abusive, neglectful, or highly dysfunctional environments, which is the source of their low self-esteem. They believe they are unworthy, incompetent, unlovable, or even bad. And here's what I say to them. The most important relationship you will change in therapy is your relationship with yourself. Right now you do not like yourself, but soon you'll learn to give yourself the unconditional love that was missing in childhood, and that will change everything. Quote number 8, life is difficult. This is a great truth, one of the greatest truths. It is a great truth because once we truly see this truth, we transcend it. Once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult. Because once it is accepted, the fact that life is difficult no longer matters. This is the first paragraph of M. Scott Peck's classic book, The Road Less Traveled, which can be viewed as a plea to our instant gratification culture to embrace the truth that life involves not only pleasure, but also pain. And if we teach our children that suffering can be avoided, then they'll be ill-equipped to live a fully human life. In other words, we must not only learn to embrace the joys of life, we must also learn to grieve, which is a core skill of emotional intelligence. Quote number 9. Grief is like the ocean. It comes on waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm, and sometimes it's overwhelming. All we can learn to do is swim. Author Vicki Harrison makes the point that grief is something to be learned. Ideally, parents teach children how to grieve through the experience of small and big losses that inevitably occur in childhood. But when caretakers are unable to grieve, then children are forced to rely on their own immature brains to deal with the pain of loss, often with disastrous results, such as substance abuse, anger and violence, sexual acting out, and other destructive or unhelpful compulsive behaviors. Thus, the ability to grieve is vital for good mental health and often a focus of therapy because when you think about it, all emotional pain involves some kind of loss. Quote number 10. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. But if you turn your attention to other things, it comes and sits softly on your shoulder. In the early 19th century, the American naturalist and philosopher Henry David Thoreau understood what social scientists are only now proving, that trying to be happy doesn't work. Instead, it is much more effective to turn your attention to other things, such as close relationships, meaningful activities, and taking care of your body, because then, while you're not looking, the butterfly of happiness will come and sit softly on your shoulder. Quote number 11. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Penned by Reinhold Niebuhr in the 1930s and adopted by Alcoholics Anonymous in 1941, the Serenity Prayer may offer more wisdom in fewer words than anything ever written. But it's not simply a quaint prayer to hang on the wall. Rather, it's meant to be lived, which can be practiced with respect to any stressful situation by drawing 2 columns on a piece of paper and then listing everything you can control about the situation in one column and everything you cannot control in the second column, and then focusing your efforts and energy only on what you can control, which is the best prescription I know for good mental health. And finally, quote number 12, it is never too late to be what you might have been. The great British poet T.S. Eliot reminds us that it's never too late to heal and grow. Why? Because life exists only in the now. In fact, it's all we got. Thus, finding happiness at any age is all that matters. I wish you the best on your path to healing, growth, and recovery. If you found this video helpful, please click the thumbs up button. And if you want to hear more from me, then subscribe to my channel, Counselor Carl. I will be publishing a new video every other weekend. And if you'd like help in finding your path to healing and recovery, then visit my website, Serenity Online Therapy, where you can read more about me and the online services I provide. And finally, keep paying attention to your life. Until next time.